So David, you were mentioning mobile technology and the fact that many people are accessing the internet via their mobiles, especially in emerging economies. We see this to be the case. And and Justin, you were sort of mentioning convergence of many technologies. So in emerging economies, is there the possibility that blockchain technology and blockchain-based dApps and DAOs actually come into place before people get massive penetration of the internet? Just like we have seen in many African countries, mobile phones coming into play before any landlines, so sort of having a leapfrog effect. Is that possible to happen in emerging economies, that we actually will have blockchain-based dApps as opposed to the internet as we all know it?
So what you are referring to is the application layer, where Google, Facebook, Twitter, and many others play on top of the internet infrastructure. Infrastructure is still going to be necessary in the blockchain world as well, but the application layer may not be adopted in the low and middle income countries before being replaced by the new wave of decentralized applications. A good example of this is India, where Facebook made an offer that they believed India couldn't refuse. And they were very surprised when India refused the offer. The offer consisted in what is called zero rating. So in exchange for Facebook gaining kind of a favorite status and being on the home screen of phones and being the default place where a browser would be opened, Facebook paid the data that people otherwise would need to pay to go on Facebook. And in Northern Africa, actually, if you ask people what is the internet, they will tell you it's Facebook as a consequence of this kind of policy. So India, being strong enough to refuse that, made actually sure that their country would be exposed to a wider variety of uses and applications rather than being restricted to this extremely tempting but slightly poisonous offer. So we are going to see, hopefully, enlightened approaches where the opportunities provided by a new generation of decentralized applications will be enabled to be rapidly taken on. And then hopefully this will also create a much more diverse and more robust and resilient approach to how people gather information, make judgments on what is appropriate or inappropriate, vote even for their various local or central elections, and then transact economically. So this is, for me, extremely promising.
Yeah, I would add to that, Kev. I think that in the emerging market, there's much more trust of technology. There are still people that you and I both know that that are concerned about internet banking and e-commerce transactions going haywire, or their wallet being hacked, which is a very real problem at the moment for cryptos. But in the emerging markets, there is a lot more trust of technology. And if you consider that the majority of Kenyans' GDP goes through M-Pesa, which is a mobile payment methodology. So very interesting to see what happens in the new world with regard to adoption of the applications that are going to be built on the blockchain.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it is really interesting having spent some time at different conferences, decentralization conferences like D10E. I've been able to meet people, for example, that are looking at creating mesh networks in emerging economies, all based off blockchain in order to have, you know, payments, etc., etc. So I think those sort of things will potentially spur that even further, especially if it broadens internet, you know, internet adoption. I mean, you know, access to the web, because there just are so many places that just don't have access. I mean, I was looking up. There's still some countries where it's below 10% of people that have access.